Hey, welcome everyone to the July 16th Planning Board meeting. On the agenda today, we are going to review minutes from July 2nd. Liz is going to give us an update on the Affordable Housing Trust Committee. We are going to discuss the new municipal signs when Carl gets here. And we can always switch things around. And Nancy wanted to have the sign bylaw on the agenda, so that's down. And then we'll any agenda items for next meeting. Unfortunately, Wayne isn't here today. So I did have one question on the minutes. Did Jan say, does anyone, I'm very well could have missed it, but I did not hear anyone say that the gift would only be for working residents and their families. I don't think you can even do
I
that.
don't think you legally can do that.
So was that said?
I don't believe it was said in the.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to make a motion that we scratch that phrase.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I have.
There was also, is this the one that refers to the Morrises?
Yes.
Because it's not John Morris, it's Hans Morris.
Hans.
His real name is John.
Is it? Okay, because
Okay.
we've just been, I've never heard that. Okay. I've been schooled.
All right, so we'll just make that one change. Jennifer, you got that one?
No.
Okay. So this right here, this part where it says that would be only for working residents and their families. I guess no one else. So just take that out. Okay. Okay, so with that change, I make a motion that we go ahead and approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so Carl is on his way. I know that much. And so why don't we, in the meantime, while we're waiting for Carl to get here, why don't we talk about
I hate
the Nancy, what did you have in mind for the sign bylaw?
Well, I had a couple of things. I remember that Gary had mentioned when we were talking about we approved the sign at the golf course. And there was some question about it. I can't remember exactly what your question was, Gary, about that. Because you said, well, maybe we should address that. Because
Oh, yeah.
when the sign, the same size, the exact same sign, they're just.
Yeah, I think what I was, if a sign is still the same size, we should have some kind of wording where, it can stay that way as long as it doesn't get any larger. It could certainly get smaller, but it couldn't get larger.
That's what I wrote.
And then so that it wasn't like, a color issue or a verbiage issue.
Yeah. So what I thought to start out with, I don't know if you want to go to sign regulations or 6.8. And I was looking at the 6.8.4 and that was the directional signs. And underneath that is advertising. I know we talked about this before, like I remember Wayne saying something, when somebody's building a house and they've got the builder's thing out there. We discussed how long that they can have those signs out. But I don't remember what we decided, and there's nothing in the bylaw about how long they should be out there. And I thought maybe we should put something in the bylaw that states.
We should do it for realtor signs too.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's like an advertising.
They're supposed to go within, the realtor
Yeah.
signs are supposed to come down within 2 weeks of the sale.
Yeah, well, it's not happening.
I didn't see that in
That's
in the bylaws, because I didn't see that. But I thought that something like that should actually be in writing in our bylaw. And there's this one wording that I thought is confusing to me, 6.8.4 under the word sign. And it reads, the following shall not be included in the application of the regulations herein for the purpose of the bylaw section. Is there a way maybe we could reword that to?
What section is it, Nancy?
6.8.4 under the bottom,
Still don't know what she said.
under sign. It looks like that sentence has been for like years.
Where exactly are you looking?
6.8 Kent Park.
Or down near the bottom, it says the sign. See, it's got a parapet wall, public way, then sign. And it's right after the word sign, any structure or device used for the purpose of visual communication.
Well, it's a definition.
What you were talking about was
Oh,
the
before
the
that.
line below that. The
Yeah.
following shall not be included in the
There
application
you
of the
go.
regulations herein for the purposes of this bylaw section.
Yeah, that's the one I was questioning.
I mean, I think it's clear. It's just like the exceptions, but
What did you have in mind?
I didn't know. I was hoping someone else could. It's what it is, but it confuses me, so I didn't know if we could, there was some way we could make it a little. Or to wording, use a different word. Shall not be included in the application of the regulations. We're applying, so that if someone's applying for a regulation. For the purpose of the.
so it's just listing,
Yeah, I know what it lists.
Included.
I don't, it's that sentence that I just have.
sentence.
Is it clear or does it make sense if you remove application? The following shall not be included in the regulations herein for the purposes of this bylaw section.
Yeah, I think the application is the word that I don't think fits that sentence.
Yeah, I don't, I'm trying to see what the context of it is. Well, it's under definitions applicable to section 6.8.
Mhm.
So that, I guess that's what the application refers to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the regulations, yeah. Application of the regulations themselves.
So
Could it
it's
say?
not meant to
applications or-
apply in the following regulations to this bylaw section. So I guess,
Or apply application of regulations instead of application regulations. That just doesn't work.
no, it's,
It says application of the
It
regulations,
does.
yeah.
yeah, here.
Well, short is beautiful.
I don't know,
Am I the only one who has a problem with it?
No.
I understand what you're saying,
Hmm.
okay, but I don't know if there's
The fix might be worse than,
yeah,
I mean, sometimes the wording is just, it's legal wording that
Yeah.
is, not necessarily good.
sometimes the fix complicates it worse.
It makes it worse, yeah. Well, that was just a concern that I thought of,
when you were talking about, since I'm new coming into this, when you were talking about the golf club sign,
mhm.
were you talking about possibly a grandfather type of situation?
Yeah, so,
Is that because the present sign doesn't meet?
well, what we've been told by legal, by Donna Brewer, our town council,
Hmm.
is that, say you have a sign that doesn't meet the current regulations, like the golf club sign or the Minkler sign. And I'm not talking about the building sign, I'm talking about the actual, whatever they call it now. If they make a change to the sign itself, then it's no longer grandfathered in. So I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, Gary, but Gary's suggesting that we change the wording such that, your size is grandfathered in regardless of whether you make changes to the design of the sign itself.
Right.
Do I have that? Is that what you're saying?
Mhm. That's exactly it, yeah.
And where would that go? Where would that be in all this?
We might have to add another point.
So one thing that I'm wondering, how about Gary and Nancy, you guys get together and work on that?
Well, I think of that it would just be adding that one sentence.
Yeah, so do you want to, look at the bylaw and take a look at where you might want to make that change and then, bring it to the next meeting?
I had thought if the sign area, sign comma area that, remember you had changed it to make it clear, more clearer with the size, because it's cubic inches.
Where are we at?
And you fixed that last year. If we could just stick it in with there, because it goes with this, area of the sign shall be considered, include all lettering, wording, symbols, together with a frame around and any cutout or,
What number is it?
6.8.4, but the second page, sign accessory, then sign non-accessory, sign area. I have it on page 54.
And I'm sorry to be walking into this a couple minutes late, but have we talked about to what extent these new town directional signs
No.
are
Not yet.
even
No, we're
remotely?
saving
No, we haven't gotten to
Save
that.
that for
We
when you
haven't
got
gotten
here.
there yet.
Okay,
That's your baby.
it's
saving it for
my
you.
interest.
You
I have not gone over there with the tape measure.
think it would fit in there, Gary?
Well, let me, ask everyone, can everyone get behind that idea? Is everyone comfortable with that?
But what are we saying? Are we saying that, we're grandfathering the size of the sign,
Mhm.
square area?
We can't use that wording, but
Grandfather.
Pre-existing.
Well, no.
Existing
Yeah.
non-conforming signs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's gotta be wording in the LPOD with that you could steal for that.
yeah.
But so what we're saying is, you can change but as long as you keep the size that it was previously, you can change the font, you can change the wording even,
Mhm.
you can change the colors even.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, that
Yep.
all seems to make sense.
Mhm. Okay.
But does it require a separate section or something? Is the,
How about if I ask Donna?
Oh, yeah, that'd be probably
Take
the
a look
best.
at it.
That's
Yeah.
And ask her where it makes sense to
Yeah.
make that change. I mean, looking at
And
the,
then, I mean, the only other thing that could be an issue is, we've had this before too, is if the size is still gonna be the same, but they're gonna change the shape, like at the camp.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
But that's a whole nother,
so one thing I would just caution you about is that, the idea that we've heard from planners, I've talked to planners, and signage is notoriously difficult to get consensus on in terms of, you just get into questions of aesthetics and so on, and it's tricky. So, I guess I would the idea that you're going to have a perfect sign bylaw is really unlikely.
Mm.
And so what, Michael and I've talked about is that at a certain point, you just need to be willing to accept that no zoning bylaw is going to be perfect. And there are times when you have to go to the ZBA for, an exception, and that's a whole nother process. So I think, what Nancy's brought up is likely something that we can easily address here.
Good.
And I would keep it simple, though, in terms of.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
because I think the
maybe we'll just
size,
leave it at size.
yeah, I mean, the intention of the bylaw, I think, is good. There's just, this,
Tweaking.
yeah,
Yeah.
so.
well, let me throw something out there. So you have for the purposes of this discussion, I'll use grandfather. 15 square foot sign that is whatever, it's relatively square. And so that allows somebody to do the same 15 square foot sign that's like 1 foot by 15 feet.
Yeah, no, it does.
Would it be, once again, my thoughts always go to the disasters of the LPOD. If it's grandfathered in size, can it be can we also regulate that it stays the same? If you're
Yeah,
getting
I'd be okay
you're getting
with
an
that.
exception because of the grandfathered situation.
It stays the same
In
shape.
shape.
It stays the same length width.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you,
Because you make a very good point. You could have something that's 15 feet long.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You can, yeah, it's something that doesn't necessarily immediately pop to mind, you know?
Oh, good
And all of a
idea.
sudden it's
Yeah.
there.
That's a
Excellent.
good point.
Yeah, that's a real good idea.
Very good. Okay, so I think I got the gist of this, and I will touch base with Donna. And say contents can change.
Yeah, content, color,
But
and the
the
font.
shape must stay the same?
Yeah, the
Yes.
shape and size will have to stay, the shape and square.
Square footage stay the same or
Relative.
less.
Relative, to, you know, what, relative width to height of the sign area. I don't know what the right word, but
Okay, I think I got it.
yeah.
Okay, that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Okay, so next up, we have the municipal signs. There's one, they've been recently constructed. There's one at the corner of 183 and Hawthorne Road where Gold Meadow is. There's one by the cemetery. And then there's one by the Civil War Monument. And, so we were going to talk about that. And, what are your thoughts?
Well,
Shock.
uh,
I mean, no, honestly, was there a lot of discussion about these signs?
Well, I just happened to be at the select board meeting when it was on the agenda.
Okay,
And I would have had no idea from the agenda item of what was proposed. So I sat and I listened. I was on Zoom. I just listened. And I did look at the website then to see, the materials were referenced. And I could see immediately, okay, they're talking about the same size that is at the corner of Elm Street and Main Street.
it's bigger,
It's bigger, yeah, okay.
quite a bit.
Yeah, but, so after the meeting, I gathered some information and found out more about it. And I did send an email to the select board just as a resident. I didn't speak it even as a planning board member. I just sent from my personal email as a resident expressing my concerns. Yeah,
They're just another bit of clutter. I mean, don't people have GPS? I mean, who can't find the Rockwell Museum at this
Well, you
point?
wouldn't believe the people, when I was in the collector's
Really?
office, they come on and say, how do I get to Marion Fathers? It's
Uh,
actually like, or Tanglewood.
I've
How do I get
answered
to
that
Tanglewood
question
from there? Or
100
the
times.
museums. So
Yes.
they come in to ask us or Terry in the clerk's
that was
office.
a while ago, wasn't it, Nancy?
They still ask.
I
Oh, I'm
don't
sure
know.
they still come in.
when people get
The,
in front of my house and they ask me where and they're walking,
Yes.
they're very sad when they get the answer.
Gonna take you another half a day.
I'm familiar with the one that's at the corner of Hawthorne and 183.
Mm.
The other ones are basically the same as that?
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah,
but it's like right in the middle of the view to Gold Meadows and.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I take from, because I go by that corner all the time. There's no way you can read anything like that when you're in a car.
Yeah, the font is.
If somebody is walking by, then fine, but there's no sidewalks there, so it's not useful in that way. There's no foot traffic. But you can't, I mean, that's from a purely whether this is useful. Obviously, somebody tried to be artistic or they tried to give it some style. I don't know if does that match?
Tasteful
Tasteful, that's a good word.
in some way, but whatever. I mean, but they're in front of, major town landmarks and I'm not sure that they're making Stockbridge more beautiful.
Yeah, that's a
I'm just,
yeah, no, I don't like them either. I don't
Yeah.
like them either, but I don't know.
we
how
spent a
you-
bunch of money on them,
Yeah,
presumably.
I think I was told that the chamber did pay for them. But I don't know, but I just,
It's still money.
yeah. Yeah.
my issue or what I see immediately is that they're not useful.
Yeah.
In fact, they could be if somebody's trying to read that while they're driving by in a car, it could be
They're gonna slow down.
Hazard.
They're gonna slow
Yeah.
down.
yeah,
What does that say?
And they're really high up.
There.
yeah.
Well, they're kind of weird looking in scope, there's long spindly legs.
Yeah.
It's
And,
like a art project that got a little out of hand.
Yeah. Okay,
There's nothing that
so-
we can do about it
No.
No,
because they're in charge of,
I think it's a fait accompli.
I'm not sure. It's going before the select board on August 22nd. The land trust has voted,
Okay.
as far as I know, unanimously against it.
Oh,
I'm going to ask to have it on the agenda at Laurel Hill.
okay.
So I don't think I don't know, we'll find out. Certainly, it's definitely the select board's jurisdiction. Municipal signs are their jurisdiction. But I think I get Carl and Eric's input. I told Patrick I would write this up. Liz, Gary, do you have any comments?
Well, I would agree with Carl and everybody else that they're, if you're standing there walking by, you can definitely read them. But from a car, they're useless.
Okay.
The other thing is the one that's on Main Street up by where Waldorf School is, they put that one up, but they still left that other junky 3-sign thing that's been there forever.
I noticed that.
you can read that one.
But you can read that one, exactly. So as far as taste goes, well, there's one that I would say is useful and one that's very tasteful.
Now, if we could
Not
mix the two.
necessarily, and neither one of them is like the other.
Well, I mean, the legend is that one of our previous selectmen actually had a secret detail to remove sign clutter.
So I just went to our previous select board member,
Yeah.
Tom Biaco's memorial service,
Oh, gosh.
and it was lovely. And Lindy, who used to work at the highway department, told the story of signs listed to help out in that endeavor. And I thought it was a really nice story. So,
In my business, I'm also like constantly, like trying to like look at a picture, make a nice frame, and then there's some like, stupid yield sign or something like that, or whatever it is. And, they're hard to get rid of.
yeah, okay.
You can just saw them down, but
My hesitation with the inability to read it or its usefulness is that if that would have the effect of making this thing larger.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now it gets worse.
It's in compliance with our bylaws.
Well, the municipal sign bylaw is under the select board, and the thinking at the time
Doesn't matter.
Right.
was that
Okay.
by putting it with the select board, there would be more visibility and accountability.
Right.
But my observation was that that did not happen because I happened to be at the meeting when it was on the
Yeah.
agenda.
See, I would have thought that they would have said, we're thinking about doing this. What do you folks think? I mean, it kind of used to work that way.
Did it?
And we've gotten completely away from
Yeah,
the
the collaboration.
collaboration, yeah.
Especially if we're in charge of some signs and they're in charge of some
Right.
signs, if there was some kind of.
Yeah,
He's-
well, that's what happened with the other sign bylaws. They said, we want to know about, we don't really want to have anything to do with this, but we want to still have decision-making power if we feel like it.
Oh, I remember.
That was like
Well,
was like a
certain
double
things
negative.
just make sense to have down here with the select board, like the sandwich board signs, they're here
Mm-hmm.
more frequently.
Yeah.
So I feel like there are certain things that just make sense to be with the select board.
Right.
And there's
But
other temporary signs, same thing, they're here.
But I
Just
think
not
it would
here.
have been, of all the many things, that would have been something to run by us.
Okay, so Liz, I haven't heard from you. What's your thinking?
I'm thinking the same thing as everybody else.
Okay. All
I can
right.
repeat it if you'd like, but,
No, that's okay.
yeah.
So
What do we do about it?
I'm going to write this up And I will be going to the meeting on August 22nd. And my thoughts are, I mean, some people, the sign that really seems to be making people the most unhappy is the Gold Meadow location. But I actually feel all three are problematic for me.
The one in front of the,
Yeah,
the
monument,
Civil
we just
War
spent a
Right.
bunch of money on.
I know.
monument, which we just
I know.
fixed up and made lovely.
Exactly.
It's like,
It's behind the sign.
Yeah, no, and then even the cemetery, I just think that,
yeah,
I find GPS to be very reliable. Maps has gotten quite
And
good.
the other thing is, curiously, they put it just before you're ready to take a turn.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
So it's equally problematic.
So,
It could be seen as creating a hazard, actually.
Yeah.
But that's
maybe if they lit up.
That was what I was waiting for, Carl. Thank you.
Need a light facing down.
Are you suggesting neon or like the
Flashing.
sign that's in front of
flashing.
the TV set that's in front of the St. James Church in Great Barrington?
Really don't like that. I watched the planning board meeting, Great Barrington Planning Board meeting, and Brandy, who's their chair, and she's very good. Somebody, I don't remember the exact context, they were working on the old fire station and signage came up and she very definitely sort of said, we're trying to get away from that St. James type of sign. She handled it very well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a big screen TV.
Yeah, no, every time I drive by it, I find it jarring, so.
It just is
And
out of
you
place.
can't,
It's out of.
it's not doing anything. It's not conveying the information for me.
And the one at Gould Meadows, when you're coming up 183 toward Lenox,
It's a line of sight too, isn't it?
it looks plumb. Okay, so it looks kind of like somebody put a level on it. And this has to do with what your vantage point is, but when you're coming down Hawthorne or you're coming down 183, it looks like it looks like it's off at an angle. It looks like somebody hit it or it's off or wasn't put in correctly or something.
Well, another,
That,
It's an optical illusion is what it is. But it has to do with because of how tall it is relative to how narrow it is.
well, it's also just so out of scope with there's that bench.
Yeah,
And then there's this sort of tasteful sign and, that brown sign, right? And everything is so beautiful there. And then there's this,
well, whoever designed it, I'm sure thinks it's real beautiful. That's my beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
yeah, you know what the French say,
Yeah,
ne discute pas les goûts.
yeah.
that's what,
Yeah, so, all right, so we should be careful and with that, we should be careful and be respectful. Somebody did design it, so yes. All right, so I will write that up and I will talk to Donna about Nancy's idea and the input we got on that. Is there anything else there? And I'll touch base with Wayne to see if he has any thoughts that he'd like to add in.
Great.
Okay? Is everyone ready for dinner?
Yes.
Oh,
No, I ate before I came.
Wouldn't it be nice if the caterers just came in?
have we done the agenda?
Yeah, there's not much I can,
Oh, Liz.
Oh,
did you-
Liz.
Liz, yeah.
I sat and watched this for 2 hours today. Like, are you kidding? There's not much I'm really going to tell you that you don't already know, but I'm going to just
Well, that's
go
okay.
over a few
Just
things.
Prepared, so let's hear it.
So, I think they're still working on the housing production plan to put it on the,
I did get Jan, the wording, very
Good.
simple wording for
Right.
short-term rentals.
great, perfect.
But I haven't heard from her yet.
I think she
on-
was away for 2 weeks.
Okay,
So,
okay.
and we have not met since the June 10th meeting, which I wasn't at, but I did watch today.
Did she change it from Route 102 to 183?
What?
She kept saying that she's
I haven't seen it.
gonna get sewer and water up from Route 102.
Yeah, no, I have not
Yeah.
seen it. I have not seen it. These are just notes from the last meeting.
Okay, good.
basically what they were doing was approving, having a survey finished so that they could see the real, it was just really the boundaries were not where the solar fields were or anything else, but just closer to the houses because something seemed a bit off.
The survey seemed
It
off.
wasn't complete. And so we needed the boundary markers. Those were not there. The boundary markers are missing.
So what about at the entrance? Are there boundary markers there? Eric was asking, about,
I don't have the
Okay.
study in
I
front of
mean,
me.
could we have a site visit to see it?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Would anyone else be interested in seeing?
Yeah, if I look, and I know that Mass GIS is not always up to date,
Right.
but if I look at that, I see under their name still, I see a 34 acre parcel. Is
Yes,
that's what
it.
we're talking about? But also the very narrow
Entrance.
that goes out to the road,
Mhm.
as I'm looking north, let's say, from on the property, or better, yeah. There's another thin piece of property along that entryway that also belongs to them. That's also under their name.
Mhm.
So I didn't know if that was part and parcel, if that was part of the thing or not.
I'd have to look. I haven't
Right.
looked at it.
Because that would make a big difference as to ingress, egress, all that sort of stuff and what they would be allowed to do.
We've already been approved
Yeah,
for,
okay.
that's
Yeah,
that
I'm
part.
coming into this way late.
For going in and out. The fire chief already talked about
For
it.
the driveway?
Yeah, the driveway's fine. We're really more thinking about, we're just trying to find out what it's going to cost to bring water, to bring sewer, to bring whatever. Because that's either going to make it or break it.
And it's all, and much of it is wetland too, from,
Yeah, parts of it are wetland.
From what I
The
see.
survey that was done shows 3 different places where you can put homes. Unfortunately, they went for how many you could get squeezed in there, and they squeezed in 72, and we all went, what? You gotta be kidding. We were talking like 8 to 10, We saw that, and it just made everybody really upset, including us. So, no, that's not the intent, and it does keep getting brought up at every meeting, and it's like, we keep saying, this is not our intent, this is not our intent, but we have no plan. There's no plan because we have no money. We don't have all the answers to.
But I have heard some
Everything else.
members talk about, a large number of units there.
We have no plan.
How many units are at Pine Woods?
30, I think.
30, yeah.
25 or 30, yeah.
I mean, it's substantial,
Mhm.
but it's not 72.
No, it's not 72, and we don't want 72.
Is it 25 or 30
I mean, what the heck,
or buildings?
units?
units.
Yeah,
Okay.
And what, our housing production plan says in 5 years, we should have 25 new homes, 25 at tops. That's what we need. That's what's needed in town. So we're not looking for giant amounts of things. It would cost too much money to build anyway.
I do see though where the complication and expense of bringing in
Right.
utilities would, I don't think 8 or 10 units would justify that.
I think you're right, but
So I don't know if that was behind the thinking of a maximum of 70. I mean,
well,
you'd probably have to have 50 units in there anyway to justify.
Right.
we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to get state funding,
Well,
I
state-
suspect that you're not going to get state funding for infrastructure for 8 units.
Right.
No, but there's state and federal funding. There are a whole bunch of, so that's what we're looking into right now. It's like, we're
Yeah.
looking at funding, we're looking at the kind of funding we can get, what they do it for. We also want somebody to help us, 2 consultants. We're looking at, hello, back to signed bylaws. We want somebody who has experience in affordable housing for advice in terms of how to go about this. Because we're just a bunch of volunteers who had never done this. And we also want a grant writer so that they know what's out there and what's available and are those the kind of things that we want. So if the kind of 2 things that we're trying to decide what you do first, is the chicken and the egg thing, because it could work either way. So we're just trying to, at this point, find out who does this kind of thing. We're going to speak to other places like CDC in Great Barrington. How did they find who they use? And we did talk about ADUs and short-term rentals. whether we talk about that now or when the new state, like, it's gone to the Senate. It's passed the House in Mass, but it's gone to the Senate now. They did not put through the tax relief, but was the tax, the thing they were going to add on to when you,
The transfer
the
tax,
transfer tax,
Yeah.
that did not.
which was not a
Yeah.
relief for everybody.
Right, no, not at all. And so
Yeah.
that didn't make it to Senate. It didn't even make it in the bill. So that's gone. But they are, we're going to have to think about when everybody's going to have the right to an ADU. It's probably going to be a Massachusetts law.
Mhm.
And so we have to think about, I'm that boring?
Excuse.
Think about, Lee just wrote there a bylaw saying you can only have one that's used as an ADU, the other one they can't be done at the same time. I think that's something important that we need to put in ours as well.
I think it would be good for you to work with Patrick on this type of, those bylaws, because this is really his
Yeah.
thing. And I think it would be great if two could work together.
I'd be
Okay.
happy to.
Oh, that'd be
This is
good.
my thing. I like that part.
That's great.
You
Good.
know, so anyway, everything's up in the air, but we're just looking at what everything costs, how to go about it, where funding comes from. It's just all, and we have no plan. Whatsoever.
It's this kind of planning that got us to the position we're in now, which is relatively speaking enviable, where we actually have some affordable housing in Stockbridge.
Mhm.
But I mean, we got to keep on thinking. So that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of
I'll
work.
tell ya.
Yes.
And I'm the secretary. And that's
Oh, for
a
Pete's
lot
sake.
of work.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
Thanks, Liz.
You're
Thanks for the update. It's really helpful because I don't
Sure.
necessarily, I have watched some of their meetings, but I don't necessarily want to watch every single meeting.
Well,
Or 2 hours.
I know, they're very long. They are very long. And it's been interesting because we have been hashing and rehashing things for a
Mm.
while. And I think it's finally starting to come together. It's like, okay, now how do we make
Yeah.
this happen?
So what I'd like to do is just make this a standing item on the agenda, and if you have nothing, we just
Okay.
pass. Okay,
Okay,
great.
that's fine with
Good.
me.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? No? Gary, you look like you have something on your mind.
I have nothing.
That's just a blank stare.
I don't know the history of, I'm completely ignorant of the history of all this, of that, just, that particular parcel. And I know it was the owner's intent for it to be used for this purpose.
Well, originally,
Yeah.
they were interested in donating it to Laurel Hill. And unfortunately, one person on Laurel Hill told them no.
What?
Yeah, because that would have been a
Oh.
perfect parcel for us because it's
Wow.
contiguous with
Usually just give.
Lower Bowkers.
Wasn't it,
So the other thing is.
wasn't it
And I'm always
the,
telling Michael,
wasn't it the gravel pit?
It's open.
Famously?
it was the old dump at one point.
Yeah.
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 Jennifer, do you remember that? When it was the old
Oh,
dump?
I do.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because my understanding is that often with a situation like that, when a piece of property is being made available for no cost to the town, and it was inappropriate for the town's intended use, they would market it. So
No.
they could buy something else that
Right, no.
like was on the sewer line kind of thing.
Well,
And
Laurel Hill would love to have it potentially.
Well,
I
it's,
can't speak
here's
for
the thing.
board, but we've
It's-
got 3
it's-
board members here. so-
It's already decided, what
Yeah.
was in the deed or what was in the contract was, it is going to be used as open land with trails. But it's the town, I think the town would own it.
I know, I told Michael, Laurel Hill.
You can definitely, yeah, we need more.
okay,
Yeah,
Maybe the Indians want it back.
there you go. Complete the field arboretum and then,
There you go.
Do we have anything that needs to be signed coming up next meeting?
well, it's like public.
Do we have anything that needs to be signed coming up at our next meeting?
Signed?
Signed.
Signed, like,
Approved.
parcels or parcel,
We don't have any Form As that I know of,
As,
special permits, Jen?
No, I had one man this Monday that came in and I gave him a Form A. He's dividing his land.
Okay,
But I don't think it'll come.
okay, yeah.
We signed
Not this
those,
one.
Mhm, yeah,
Yep,
all right.
so bring your pen.
I'm ready.
Okay, so that's it. So for the next meeting, I will be in touch with Donna to find out about some of these things and we'll see if we have anything from that else.
How's the are we scheduling this meeting for?
Well, it's up to you guys, if you want to, I aim to please here. So if you want to, if all I have is input from Donna on the signs, I'm going to write up our input on the municipal signs.
Okay,
And if all I have is input from Donna on the signs, our next meeting is scheduled for August 6th. That's all I have. Do you all want to meet?
Well, if there's the
I
Form
mean,
A.
does it seem very pressing?
Not to me. I mean, if we have the Form A, we have a time frame that we need to meet within, and I'm happy to go either way. It's up to you guys. The Form A gives us like 21 days, so
I mean, could we put it off for,
why don't we see what happens with the old Form A and then
all right.
take it from there, okay? Yeah, I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Okay,
Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Yes.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.